Hello everybody and welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts 3 playthrough. It is time for us to return to our gummy ship, and this time we are going to explore the, I believe it's the Starlight Way, I don't really know, but either way I'm going to be buying up all of these gummy ships, and we are going to definitely be using at least one of those versions to explore everything that we're about to explore. But first we're going into the gummy editor because seriously I do need an upgrade. I don't know why it won't let me do the high... Oh, I need this particular part. See, this is one of the things that makes quite a bit of the gummy ship editor just really frustrating, is that in order to use certain gummy ships you need to have particular parts, but then also the cost ends up being ridiculously prohibitive because you want to create sort of your wonderful perfect ship, but it sort of won't let you put in as many guns. Also, just the whole movement thing is really tedious. I mean, what I've created here is not necessarily the worst gummy ship in the world. I mean, I've basically just taken the High Wind Mark II and just sort of pepped it up a little bit. But yeah, it sort of is one of those things where you just look at it and you just go, oh. It's like I want to do fun things with my gummy ship, but you're not letting me do said fun things with my gummy ship. So it's just a little bit depressing. So I thought I'd show this off again, just sort of to see sort of where we go, and obviously, yay, we've just exceeded our limit, so definitely one of those is going to have to go. We can add in a few more abilities to the thing now, which is quite helpful, so this is going to give us a bit of a boost at least. So we'll call that the High Wind 3, I think. We're just going to go up in numerical increments. Completely out of line with what is actually level 3, level 4, etc. But hey, it is time for us to embark... What am I doing? Oh, going back to the Misty Stream, because yeah, we've already explored the Starlight Way. We're going back to the Misty Stream, of course we are. And I think clearly I'm forgetting how on earth I move about through the entire thing, but yes, we are embarking from Monstropolis and going from there. And oh good, so we do have 2 teeny ships, so that's going to be quite helpful, because that means that we can cause a little bit more damage when we're flying about here, which should hopefully make this whole thing a lot simpler. I mean, really what would make everything ultra simple is for me to go and get the constellations, because quite a few of those are really good. And actually I may have already gotten one of them. I will use quite a bit in the extras when we come back and do all this sort of stuff properly. I think the bomb one, really surprisingly excellent. I mean, outside of that, there's one which I think you get either in Misty Stream or the next zone. I can't remember which one it is, but it's one of the two. But the Endymion, that's a really good gummy ship, and definitely one that I would recommend trying to get, because it is going to allow you to much more successfully destroy things. Also, you've got to be at particular levels to destroy those purple crystals. I believe in Well, actually, the fact that we've been able to destroy at least that one shows that sort of we're doing all right. But they become a lot easier to destroy the higher level you are. So generally, what you want to do is fight Heartless, get experience, pick up the little experience things, and so on and so forth. It is also slightly useful in order to pick these things up, because they give you blueprint pieces, which once you've collected all of them, is going to give you the joy that is another gummy ship. And a special gummy ship, and special gummy ships allow you to sort of use all their amazing powers without actually building a gummy ship. So once you've picked those up, I don't know why you'd go for anything else. But yes, pretty much the plan for this part, if you hadn't already guessed, is basically just to enjoy a little bit of gummy shipping, getting all of the treasure planets, sorting them all out. I was watching my mates do their Kingdom Hearts 3 playthrough, mates over on Hellfire Comms, and actually they brought up that whether or not there's a slight reference to Disney's Treasure Planet in these Treasure Planets or not. I mean, I look at them and go, once that's mentioned, it's like, well, surely there's got to be in some way, because like it's, you look at that thing and it clearly looks like the treasure map orb, and it just makes sense for it to be, really. And that partially makes me excited, because I do think that Treasure Planet is a film that could do really, really well with Kingdom Hearts representation. Like, I think it would be really quite effective in the Kingdom Hearts world, and there's a lot of sort of really nice themes and messages that you can get out of it. Also, it would just in general be really fun to have sort of that pirate in space feel. And I can just see like a mini game on the hoverboard, and oh, it would just be, it'd be awesome. Although I'm sure they will never do it, because Treasure Planet did not do very well at all. Same with Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Despite the fact that I think that sort of those are films that haven't had their depths plumbed, and therefore are the most open to interpretation and also sort of experimentation, to see ways of not necessarily improving them, because I think that that's a sort of a slightly botched way of looking at it, but at least they're the ones that I wouldn't feel dirty going back to and trying again in a different fashion, because obviously they weren't necessarily that well received by either the press or the public when they initially came out. And giving them another shot, I think, is worth a shot. Quite literally. Like, redundancies much. But the reason sort of that is because when you look at things that have already been played out and already are quite successful, you're just like, well, what's the reason to return to this? Like, I don't see the reason to return to, like, Aladdin. I mean, definitely don't see the reason to return to The Lion King. There's absolutely no reason to return to The Lion King, or to do it in live action when the original was just sort of pretty much perfect. So it's like, I don't see the need to. It's like, didn't really see the need to return to Beauty and the Beast either, because it's just like the original already did everything that it needed to do. There's no narrative or technological reason that it makes sense to return to them. Whereas you get things like Treasure Planet and Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and Hunchback of Notre Dame, which were overlooked when they originally came out, despite being sort of actually pretty decent stories. And also I might actually end up not fully completing this treasure planet, please. No, I failed. Disaster. It's fine, I'll just go right back into it and do it again. But yeah, it's like, because they didn't get the chance for everyone to fully appreciate them when they initially came out, it makes sense to give them that extra shot. I mean, particularly Hunchback of Notre Dame, that thing got absolutely shafted because it's got such a ridiculously amazing score. Alan Menken outdid himself on Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I think I will always be slightly bitter to this day that it does not get the love that it deserves, because my god, that thing is a work of beauty. So to actually see that get a chance for people to look at it and go, no, actually, this is really good stuff, would be amazing. It's just that sort of little bit of hope, I suppose. But hey, one more treasure orb, and then I think we can actually move on and visit a brand new world, which is obviously awaiting us. Unfortunately, as with everything else, it's not a whole new world, but it is a brand new one. But unfortunately, this last treasure orb in the area is quite a distance away. It is, thankfully, quite close to the world that we're going to visit, but it is still sort of a journey that we're going to have to take. And because the gummy ship doesn't move necessarily as quickly as you would like, it can be a bit annoying. But hey, in the middle of this, we've randomly entered into a boss fight that I was not expecting in the slightest, even though I should have seen it coming. So yes, here we have the Space Worms, and they're not necessarily overly difficult, but I wouldn't say that they're really easy. Definitely not really easy to get an A rank unless you've got a really good offense on your ship, because you're going to have to be dodging a little bit like crazy, because when it gets up close you can't really hit it, and you kind of have to try and attack it during this sort of phase. And as you may have realised when it said Space Worms, there are two that you're going to have to tackle. So this can prove a potentially challenging fight if you're trying to A rank it. It certainly did when I was trying to A rank it, but right now this was just a case of let's beat it and prove that I can video game. Because Lord knows I need to prove that every now and again. I mean, that sort of brings up a topic that has been a thing in the video game industry for the past week or so, about is it right to cheat, so to speak, in single player games. Primarily a lot of that has been focused on Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, I think, because it's an incredibly challenging game that I'm never going to play, because, yeah, sod you. But while the whole thing of is it okay to cheat in a single player game is sort of controversial, and I can understand why, because you're introducing the whole thing of the artist's vision. Oh, that was actually an A rank. That went surprisingly well. But yeah, so you've got the whole thing of the artist's vision, yes, but then also you've got the whole element of the consumer. Like, consumers have paid money to experience that artistic vision, and therefore they are perfectly within their right to want to experience that however they wish. But obviously, sometimes, however they may wish, may directly contradict what the artist, so to speak, intended. So, like, you wouldn't get the same effect out of, like, a horror title if it made things really easy for you. So, like, it gave you ammo out the wazoo for your guns, everything was really bright. It wouldn't have the same impact. But on the flip side of that, someone's paid like 60 quid. Thankfully, I don't tend to be paying 60 quid for things. It tends to be closer sort of to the 40-50 mark, but hey. That's a lot of money for someone to put into an experience which is all about playing and being involved in a narrative and a story and a game. So as long as it's not harming anyone, I personally don't see the problem with it. But it's a difficult one to sort of go through. What is not up for debate is accessibility, which has sort of been introduced into the debate, but not necessarily entirely successfully or smoothly, because for me, accessibility, which means allowing people to experience and understand and enjoy something no matter their physical or mental ability, is important. Like, just because someone is blind, just because someone is deaf, does not mean, or just because someone has slower reaction time to someone else because like their hands don't move as quickly as they would perhaps like, or even like because they've got no hands and they play with their feet. Some people do. It seems ridiculous to me that they should not be allowed to experience whatever they like, because that's sort of the level of gatekeeping in gaming that I'm just like, no. Make things accessible, or at least give people the options so that they can play their way. Because so often those things don't exist. Subtitles, for one. Like, for the love of God, games industry, get a standard for subtitles. Because just they need to be on from the start, because obviously what happens if a deaf player boots up the game and then you've got characters talking and revealing important plot and they're just like, but I don't know what they're saying, and then you're lost because important information's been presented in that. How is that fair to them? Like, it doesn't make sense. And also the ability to change the size of subtitles, because I mean sometimes like subtitles are tiny. I remember when I was playing Final Fantasy 13, that was a terrible size for the subtitles. Especially when you're playing on a standard definition display. Like, it was minuscule, you couldn't read it, and it was appalling. I mean, I know, playing Final Fantasy 13 in standard def, what a stupid move, but it was at that time where I sort of wasn't necessarily really, oh god, that is a choice. That is a choice, me. That is also a choice that we are going to go with, because why the hell not, but there we go. Yeah, it just... Well, the whole debate sort of made me quite frustrated that sort of there are a number of people who are part of gaming either because they play video games or they're in sort of journalism of video games, and there's that whole thing of just they don't seem to care about accessibility, and it's just like, well, no, it's it's important. Also, technically, if you look at sort of the law in terms of websites now, in America there is, I think it's Section 105. I don't know if there's a Section 105 agreement, which that sounds wrong, but there is definitely a law in America that means that all websites should be accessible, otherwise you can be sued. Some websites have been sued because their websites have not been accessible to people. In the UK, we're not quite there yet, but it is law that all public authority websites must be accessible to a certain standard. And because I currently work in a local authority, have worked damn hard to make sure that my authority's website meets those standards and maintains those standards, because the information that we're providing is important to making sure that people are able to sort of live their lives successfully and with as much ease as is possible for a local authority to provide. And sort of to make information on a website like that just not even visible to some people, just, it boggles my mind. And the same thing follows through into video games. It's just like, you're selling a product and actively, well, whether intentionally or unintentionally, you're actively excluding some customers. What sort of business sense does that make? Especially when actually a lot of those accessibility options are not that difficult to implement. Most games already have subtitles, just make them on from the beginning. Those that don't, for the love of God, just put them in, it's not that difficult. Time consuming, yes. Difficult, no. Have a sort of a consistent, easy to read font for things, ability to change font sizes, it's not that difficult. Colour contrast options, that is a bit more complex, but certainly something worth thinking about, because if someone's colourblind, how are they meant to tell the difference between certain sort of attacks if the colours look the same to them? Obviously, creating a game suited to blind users is a bit more complex, but using things like sound cues for enemy attacks and stuff, that's really helpful. But also, not only is it helpful for those blind users who are wanting to play a game, it also actually helps people who are not blind, because it gives you extra cues to be able to work on, to be able to figure out where you're going. And, wow.
Yes.
Somehow I missed that. So, of course I'm taking a selfie with it. So yeah, this has been Richie moans about accessibility.
Hey,
Honestly,
I think that's a lucky emblem.
For the love of God, everyone just take accessibility on board. It's not hard, and it's important. And the sooner everyone gets on board with that, honestly, the better, because it just makes sense. So yes, the take home from this is accessibility is important. Make sure websites and video games and everything is accessible, because, like, for the love of God, just do it. And that has been my TED Talk. But with all of that exploring done, obviously I missed a couple of lucky emblems in 100 Acre Wood, so went back and got them. So, you know, second part, well, the part after completing a world, we went back and we got that all sorted. It's all good, although I think that EA wanted me to take it to the Scarecrow. That's not going to happen for a while. That's going to wait until later. But we are going to do a little bit of Keyblade upgrading. And then next time, it is actually time for us to head off to a brand new world. And I have to say, for the first time in forever, I feel like it's going to get snowy in the Kingdom Hearts worlds.